Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Machin Le'Ra online smicha. One of the isurim on Shabbos, one of the prohibitions on Shabbos is the isur of bishul. You're not allowed to cook. There's a isur not allowed to make fire, and then there's a separate isur not allowed to cook food. Now, I use the word cooking food because typically people attribute cooking with food. But when you look in the Shulchan Aruch and Siman Shin Yud Ches, in Hilchas Bishul, the Alter Rebbe and Siv Zayin says, of course, you're not allowed to cook. And he says where cooking was done in the Mishkan. And he says cooking means frying, cooking means baking, cooking means roasting. They're all in the cooking family that you're not allowed to. But then he adds, it's not only with food. Kol mi sharifa guf kasha ba'ar. If somebody took fire, and with fire he softened a hard surface. For example, if a person welds metal, he heats up metal, and the metal welded and it shrunk. It became more liquidy. That would be an extension to the problem of cooking. Or from the other hand, another example, if you heat up a piece of metal until it becomes coal, or melting wax or fat. All these things are also prohibited on Shabbos because that's similar to what cooking does with food. Vice versa, not only somebody taking something hard and a hard surface and making it soft is a problem of bishul, the other way around too. If he takes a soft item and by putting it in a fire, it hardens, that's also bishul. If a person takes clay or earthenware keli, and he puts it in the fire until it becomes a clay cup or a clay spoon or a clay pot. That's also bishul, and you're not allowed to do so. So the isur of bishul is much bigger than what we thought. Of course, when it deals with bishul with food, there's kli rishon, there's kli sheni. Over here, I'm going to touch upon one specific item about that's not with food. Now that we know it applies to otherwise, nobody's going to pull out a tank and do welding on Shabbos. Everybody knows you're not allowed to do that. But maybe something you never thought about. You want to have hot soup. You want to have hot tea, hot coffee. Some of the soup instead of coffee and tea is very, very, very hot. And if you put it in a glass bowl or you put it in a pot or pan, no, that's not a problem. But you're taking a very hot cup of tea, a very hot cup of soup, and you're pouring it into a plastic cup. Pouring it into a plastic cup is taking something which is harder, and by pouring in very hot liquid in there, it's going to make it shrivel. It's going to make it melt. Is that allowed to be done on Shabbos? Since it's going to change the form of the cup, it's going to deform it. So most of the poskim say that it's not a problem on Shabbos, that you're allowed to do, because when I'm pouring hot water in the cup, when the examples that the Alter Rebbe brings that you're not allowed to weld is because you want to stick two things together, you want it to melt, or you want to make a clay keli, you want it to harden. When I want to put soup in my cup, I'm not interested in the cup deforming. I'm not interested in the cup melting. I want to have the soup. So this is something which is happening that it's not miskaven. I have no intention in happening, and I actually wouldn't want it to happen. It's loy nichalei. In general on Hilchas Shabbos we find that if it's a psik reisha, if you're doing something even if you don't want it to happen, but if it must happen, you're responsible. In this case, we will not apply the rule of psik reisha because this is not the way it's meant to be done. Again, the examples that welding, that's how you make it. A keli, earthenware, a clay keli, that's how you create something. This is not something that nobody looks, how could I melt a plastic cup? So because it's not a malacha, I'm not doing a malacha by pouring hot water into it, it's not even a psik reisha. However, There are some still want to be machmir because ultimately it is melting. Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach said if it's a throwaway cup, a plastic cup, that's a throwaway cup, you could still be easy because since it's the other items that I mentioned, you're doing something that you want it to last. So there's a permanent effect from what you're doing. In a plastic cup that you're throwing away, you're not interested in it. So it's not only the malacha is not considered a malacha, there is no purpose, there's no gain here. So you're allowed to do that on Shabbos.